Space is full of strange mysteries. And some of the facts scientists have discovered sound almost impossible. From the smell astronauts notice after spacewalks to entire clouds containing alcohol molecules. The universe is far more bizarre than most people imagine. Here are 5 incredible things about space that might completely change how you see our universe. 1. Space can smell like burnt steak. Even though space is technically a vacuum and smells cannot travel through it, astronauts have reported something surprising when they return from spacewalks. When they re-enter their spacecraft and remove their helmets, they often notice a strange smell coming from their suits and equipment. This doesn't mean outer space itself has a smell floating around. Instead, the odor comes from chemical reactions that happen when materials are exposed to the extreme environment of space. In low Earth orbit, there is a highly reactive form of oxygen called atomic oxygen. Unlike the oxygen molecules we breathe on Earth, atomic oxygen has only one oxygen atom, which makes it extremely reactive. When this oxygen hits the surfaces of spacesuits or spacecraft materials, it causes chemical reactions. These reactions create compounds that astronauts can smell once the equipment is brought back into the spacecraft. Where air is present, high-energy radiation from the sun and cosmic rays can also break apart molecules on surfaces and create new chemical combinations that produce unusual smells. 2. Space is completely silent. Movies often show massive explosions and roaring spacecraft in outer space. But in reality, space is almost perfectly silent. Sound works by vibrations traveling through a medium such as air, water, or solid materials. On Earth, when something makes noise, the vibrations move through the air and eventually reach our ears. However, outer space is almost completely empty. Because there are so few particles, there is nothing for sound waves to travel through. This means that if 2 astronauts were floating outside a spacecraft and one tried to shout to the other, the second astronaut would hear absolutely nothing. The only way astronauts communicate outside their spacecraft is through radios built into their helmets. These radios convert voices into radio signals that travel through space and then back into sound inside another astronaut's helmet. Interestingly, astronauts can sometimes hear vibrations if they touch parts of their spacecraft. 3. Venus is hot enough to melt lead. Venus is often called Earth's twin planet because it is similar in size and composition, but the conditions on its surface are incredibly extreme. The average temperature on Venus is about 465 degrees Celsius. That is hot enough to melt lead. The reason for this extreme heat is Venus's thick atmosphere. The atmosphere is made mostly of carbon dioxide, which traps heat very effectively. This creates a powerful greenhouse effect where heat from the sun becomes trapped and cannot escape back into space. Venus also has thick clouds made of sulfuric acid, and the pressure at the planet's surface is about 92 times greater than Earth's surface pressure. This means standing on Venus would feel similar to being nearly a kilometer underwater on Earth. 4. A giant cloud in space contains alcohol. Near the center of our galaxy lies a massive molecular cloud known as Sagittarius B2. This enormous cloud contains many complex molecules, including ethyl alcohol, the same type of alcohol found in alcoholic drinks. The idea of alcohol existing in space may sound strange, but it forms through chemical reactions in cold clouds of gas and dust. Inside these clouds, simple atoms and molecules stick to tiny dust grains. Radiation from nearby stars can trigger reactions that gradually build more complex molecules, including ethanol. Even though alcohol molecules exist in the cloud, they are extremely spread out across vast distances. The cloud itself spans hundreds of trillions of kilometers. Scientists once calculated that if all the ethanol molecules in this cloud could somehow be collected and turned into beer-strength drinks, it could theoretically produce around 400 trillion pints of beer. It shows how complex chemistry can occur naturally in space, even in the coldest and most distant environments. 5. The moon is slowly moving away from Earth. The moon is slowly drifting away from Earth at a rate of about 3.8 centimeters every year. This movement is caused by the gravitational interaction between Earth and the moon, specifically through the process that creates ocean tides. The moon's gravity pulls on Earth's oceans, creating bulges of water that form high tides. However, Earth rotates faster than the moon orbits the planet. Because of this, the tidal bulges get pulled slightly ahead of the moon's position, These shifted bulges have their own gravitational pull, which tug the moon forward in its orbit. When the moon gains this extra energy, it moves into a slightly larger orbit around Earth. Over long periods of time, this process increases the distance between the Earth and the moon. Scientists measure this movement precisely using laser reflectors that were placed on the moon during Apollo missions. Hundreds of millions of years ago, the moon was significantly closer to Earth, and the planet's days were shorter. The universe is full of strange facts like these, so make sure to subscribe to follow along.